Hi, welcome to another episode of Jeans and a T-Shirt Jesus. This is going to be another quick book review. My last book review that I did was a fairly new book that is still available in most Christian bookstores by Francis Chan. It was called Letters to the Church. This book is not new. It's been out for at least 25 years, if not 25 years, pretty close to it. And I doubt you'll find it in a bookstore currently. It's called The Open Church. It is primarily written by a guy by the name of James Rutz, but it also has a couple of chunks of it that are written by Stedman and Jim Hayford. And this is what it looks like. And even though it is not available in Christian bookstores still, it's readily available online. I picked up this copy of it used on Amazon for less than $5, including shipping. So it was a bargain. And I first read this book pretty close to 25 years ago, before I was married, before I had kids, and it rocked my world. It completely changed my perspective on what the church should look like, how it should function, our relationships to each other, but mainly what worship should be like. And I'd like to challenge you to find a copy of this book and read it, and read it with an open mind. I don't think you can honestly read this book and come away from reading it with an open mind, with the idea that you can go to church for 50 years and sit there on the front row and it be acceptable to God. This book is amazing at challenging you to be active in your relationship with Jesus and not passive. It's well written. It's got some really cool things. It's in several sections and then smaller chapters within those sections. In the part one, what you've never been told about church, it has titles like the disastrous success of AD 313. Chapter 2, sure it's a worship service, says so right there in the bulletin. Chapter 4 is titled In the Steps of the Blues Brothers. In part 2, from participants to spectators, there's chapter 7 that is called Luther Quit Too Soon. If you know who Martin Luther is, he was a reformer who basically got the church away from being Catholic. Part 3 is titled 5 Ways to Open Your Church Without a Crowbar. So it's there's a section called Why Real Men Don't Play Church. It is such a great book in that it really will challenge your perception of what worship is and how the church should function. But it also does it in a fairly light way. It's not very heavy-handed, so it's a good, fun read, while still making you think, and maybe at times functioning as kind of a punch to the gut, a wake-up call. Ooh, that hurts. That one bugged me. I highly recommend finding a copy of this book and read it. My one criticism of it is that in some aspects I think he doesn't take things far enough, and maybe is a little light on the options that he gives you for going forward. And I don't mean light as in the number of options. I mean the options that he gives you. Some of them are kind of they just don't take it far enough. And in fact, I think he kind of knew that and was kind of dealing with it, because chapter 10 he calls the chicken track. So I guess that's for people that agree with his premise on the book, but are a little slow or a little timid about implementing it. But overall, a great read. If you liked Letters to the Church by Francis Chan, I think you'll really like this. They go together well. They discuss some of the same ideas. They overlap a little bit, but not so much that if you've read one, you've read the other, because they are completely different books. This really is a look at worship within the church primarily, and Francis Chan's book was more his journey from when he first started being a pastor until fairly recently, and what that journey led him to believe that a Christian life should look like. And he does very briefly touch on worship in there, but it is very brief. And I think this takes an in-depth look at what it should look like when you go to church on Sunday morning. So pick up The Open Church by James Rutz. I will be back later tonight with, I believe we're in the 4th chapter of Acts in the Bible study series that I'm doing. I'll probably be back in the kitchen because my wife will be in here doing her online book and writers discussion group. So look for the video tonight, and we'll see you then.